The 165-mile drive from Miami to Key West is one of the best road trips you can do in the United States. While you can do the drive in 2 to 3 hours, I would recommend taking the entire day and finding many fun stops along the way. The road has bridges that go over the ocean to connect the Keys, and there's many towns and attractions you can see on the drive to Key West. My dad and I did this drive a couple months ago, and here's how we made an entire day out of our drive from Miami to Key West. Let's jump into it. Let me know what you think in the comments. We're saying goodbye to our hotel in Miami, and we're heading to Key West with a few stops along the way. We started our drive with a stop at Macondo Coffee Roasters for some great Colombian coffee. We got our coffee, and now we're headed out on the road trip. 45 minutes south of Miami, we were arriving at our first stop on the journey, Coral Castle. Unfortunately, they didn't allow video here, only photos, but this is a really fun and historic spot along the drive. The work was all done by one man, Ed Leedskallen, in the early 1920s. He moved the castle from its original location about 10 miles north in the 1930s, which is what you can still see to this day. The tour takes about 45 minutes, and it starts with a video about Ed and then walks you through the grounds and tells you a lot of its history. It's pretty fascinating, and it's definitely worth stopping at on your road trip. 15 minutes south is a fruit stand known as Robert is Here. If it's open when you're driving south, then you definitely should go check it out. This place is crazy with all sorts of different fruit, some that I'd never even heard of, and they make most of them into milkshakes. Plus, in the back area, there's lots of antiques and things to explore, and there's turtles and other animals, so it's just a great stop for a family while driving to Key West. This fruit stand is also next to the entrance for the southern portion of Everglades, so you could always go into the park if you wanted to, but that's a little much for this road trip. I have a video on Everglades that I'll link to in the description. As we headed south, an accident closed the bridge on Highway 1, so we had to take County Road 905A into the northern part of Key Largo and then head south from there. Welcome to the Florida Keys. This is a nice drive as well with some good views of the water, but unfortunately it took a lot longer because of the traffic trying to turn back on Highway 1. If you have the option, Highway 1 is definitely the better way to take. The traffic ended up being that there's a stop sign in order to turn left onto Highway 1, so that's what took so long. But eventually we were back on the road heading to our next stop. If you're hungry when you get to Key Largo, head to Miss Mac's Kitchen. This spot has been here for decades, and it's famous for its key lime freeze, which is like a key lime milkshake. They also have great fresh fish, crab cakes, and key lime pie. We didn't go on the way down, but we did go on the way back up. I should note that people often think that this route is just along the ocean the entire time, but a lot of it actually feels more inland as you're driving through towns and there's trees that block the view of the water. We finally made it to our first stop in the Keys, this massive lobster outside of the Rain Barrel store. It's called Betsy the Lobster, and it's made of fiberglass. It was completed in 1985, and it is 30 feet high and 40 feet long. Just in case you wanted to know how big it is, 6'7" pops, and Betsy the Lobster. It's pretty big. There's also a fun tourist shop here if you want to pick up something from the Florida Keys. After we said goodbye to Betsy, it was only a 5-minute drive to the next stop in the town of Isla Morada. Stop number 2 is the History of Diving Museum. The History of Diving Museum was a huge highlight on the trip for me. I was honestly shocked by how much this small museum had. The museum opened in 2005, and supposedly the collection has diving gear from over 30 different countries. The exhibits in the museum are well laid out and have some interactive components like how long you can hold your breath. Not very long. It's fascinating to see how much the diving equipment has grown over the last century and some of the innovations they used to dive in the early days. Check out this room that has all of the different helmets from different nations. It's pretty incredible to see. It's worth the price of admission just to see this room, I think. They also have a show you can watch back here as well. I spent another 20 minutes exploring the rest of the museum, which included a cool aquarium and exhibits on some of the deep sea suits they use. Plus, there was even some information on diving in the movies that was fun to see. This type of regular is how they created Darth Vader's iconic breathing sounds. It's crazy. That museum was really cool. Definitely stop here. So much to see and lots of stuff you wouldn't see in a normal museum. Now we're heading on to Brewing Company, I think. Only 3 minutes drive from the History of Diving Museum brought us to the Florida Keys Brewing Company. Florida Keys Brewing Company has been there since 2005 and has a great relaxed vibe, and it's definitely a place you'll see people congregating on the weekends. This is the Florida Keys Brewing Company. This is the Iguana Bay, which is their most popular beer. We tried the IPAs and the Iguana Bay, but I actually really like this unique flavor. Plus, it's a cool spot to hang out, so definitely check it out on your road trip. While you're at the Brewing Company, you can actually walk down to the Hurricane Memorial if you're interested. This memorial is dedicated to the 408 people that lost their lives in the hurricane in 1935. It was a Category 5 hurricane and was one of the most intense to ever hit the United States. The memorial here is beautiful and worth seeing, and it's made out of a coral limestone. On the walk back to the Brewing Company, you can see historic houses that were built in the wake of the hurricane and that were designed to survive future hurricanes that may hit the area. Our next stop was basically across the street from the Florida Keys Brewing Company. Depending on what you're planning to do in the Keys, this is a great place to stop for fishing and all that kind of stuff. Since 1967, this sporting goods store has become a popular spot in Islamorada. In the early 1990s, it was sold to Bass Pro Shop though, so it looks a lot more like what you'd come to expect from Bass Pro Shops around the United States. It's a pretty awesome spot with a historic boat right in the middle. The boat was built in the 1930s and is supposedly the sister boat to Ernest Hemingway's. They allow you to climb up into the boat and have lots of information on its history while you're there. Heading 7 minutes south, we made it to everybody's favorite stop on the drive from Miami to Key West. We made it to Robbie's, where you can feed the tarpon. This is easily one of the most popular stops on the entire drive. Robbie's has a market, restaurant, and different water activities that you can do, but the most famous thing to do here is to feed the tarpons. It costs a couple bucks for admission and a couple bucks for a bucket of fish, but it's definitely worth it. Do be sure to put your sunglasses in your pocket, as lots of people lose them. Paz is picking out our bucket.
It's a winner right here, baby.
After getting your fish, you proceed to the dock where there's literally hundreds of tarpon below you. Watch out for the pelicans though, as they'll steal your fish if they get the opportunity.
Oh, sweet.
The best way to experience the feeding is to use the slow-mo option on your phone. Look at all these crazy, massive fish right here. It's so crazy. Oh, that guy was massive. The tarpon basically puts your hand in their mouth as they're getting the fish. Alright, Pop's got the last fish.
Here we go. Sweet. That was awesome.
Bye, tarpon.
You gotta stop here. That's a lot of fun. That's really fun. My whole hand was in his mouth. Didn't bother me at all.
I think it's safe to say that's probably the best $6 you'll spend on your drive to Key West. From Robbie's, it was a 35-minute drive to our next stop. Along the way, we got to see ocean views, cross a few bridges, and go through a few small towns. It wasn't the clearest day, but it's still an incredible drive with lots of beautiful views all around you. Eventually, we made it to the town of Marathon, which was our next stop, and we were finally going to have something to eat. When you research places to eat on this drive, Keys Fishery comes up time and time again for their Lobster Rueben. Best sandwich in every state, Florida, the Lobster Rueben. We ended up ordering the amazing smoked fish dip and a Lobster Rueben to share. Alright, Papa's gonna try the famous Lobster Rueben.
Lobster Rueben.
Best sandwich in the state of Florida.
Very good. The lobster is overpowered a bit by the other stuff.
Yeah.
But very good.
Yes or no? My turn with the Lobster Rueben. Pretty good. I don't know if it's $30 good, but it's pretty good. I would say that's worth trying at least once. It was big enough that my dad and I could share, plus the smoked fish dip and the key lime pie were both excellent. So definitely don't miss this spot on the way down. You can decide for yourself, let me know in the comments. Another great spot in Marathon is the Turtle Hospital, which opened in 1986. They work to rehab sea turtles and return them to their natural habitat. You can take a tour here to see the sea turtles, but we weren't able to do that on this trip. As we're leaving Marathon, we saw a manatee and a shark. How could you not stop? Plus, you never miss an opportunity to have Pops stick his head in something. Especially as cool as this. Pops is getting eaten by the great white. This is commitment to the pose right here. Well worth the stop. There's a woman manatee back here that's fallen over as well. Leaving Marathon brings you the drive's most well-known landmark, 7 Mile Bridge. There's a pullout on the right before you get on the bridge if you want to get out and look at it from below. We're now driving over 7 Mile Bridge, which is a popular landmark on the way to Key West. That over there is a pedestrian bridge, but it was currently closed. So we are just heading over. The original 7 Mile Bridge was created in 1912 as a railroad bridge. After it was damaged by storms in 1935, it was recreated for automobile use. The current bridge was built in the 1980s and has become a popular tourist attraction and has been featured in many movies. The old bridge was turned into a pedestrian bridge which can be used for fishing and even walking on today. As you cross the bridge, keep your eyes peeled on the right for Fred the Tree. The Australian pine is a local favorite and basically defies nature by growing right out of the old bridge. Right after you cross 7 Mile Bridge, there's a big parking lot. This place wasn't closed, so if you want to walk out on the pedestrian bridge, you can do that from here. This is a great stop as it's a fun way to experience the bridge and to truly understand the sheer size of this engineering marvel. An old man in the sea. So yeah, you can walk out on the bridge, do some fishing, whatever you want to do. As we said goodbye to 7 Mile Bridge, a 5-minute drive brought us to our next stop at Bahia Honda State Park. So when you get to this state park, there's a trail to the old bridge that you can actually hike up to. That's what we're doing now. It's only about a 1/10 of a mile walk to the old Bahia Honda Bridge, and you can walk on it if you want to. After about 5 minutes of walking, we made it to the old bridge. Look at that water out there. It is incredible. Even though it's not sunny, it looks amazing. When you make it up to the bridge, you can only walk on a small portion, but you can get some great views of Highway 1 running alongside you, and it's cool to stand on this historic bridge. After seeing the bridge from the top, I think the best view is actually from the bottom on the side, so you can actually see the old bridge. So there's the bridge we were standing on. You can see the people up there, but as you can see, it's much cooler from down below. This is the original railroad bridge that was converted to an automobile bridge in the 30s. Now we're finishing the drive and we're heading down to Key West just in time for sunset, which doesn't look like we're gonna get much tonight. Not today. From the state park to Key West, it's about 35 miles and it takes about 45 minutes. This section of the drive is picturesque as there's more bridges and the views are not often blocked by trees. If you have the time on the drive down, go to Big Pine Key and go to the National Key Deer Refuge. You can head to the Blue Hole where you may be able to see key deer and other wildlife, or you often just see them as you're driving on the side of the road. These deer are the smallest subspecies of the white-tailed deer and are only found in the Florida Keys. Eventually we made it to the outskirts of Key West and started the slow drive into the city to park near Duval Street. Duval Street is the nightlife capital of Key West. We thought it would be a fun place to end our road trip. So we made it to Key West, but in order to end our trip officially, we are going to the mile marker 0 sign. Mile marker 0, the beginning of the Florida Keys Scenic Highway, or the end for us.
We did it. We made it.
Mile marker 0 is a fun endpoint in Key West with a couple little shops there and a great place for an ending photo. That's it for our trip from Miami to Key West. If you want to see Key West recommendations, you can check them out right here. Thanks for going on this road trip with us. We'll see you on the next video.